The studio lights burned hotter than Brad Pitt expected, their glare pinning him to the leather chair like a specimen under a microscope. He adjusted his tie, a nervous tic he hadn't felt since his first audition decades ago, and scanned the set. The audience, a faceless blur beyond the lights, murmured like a restless sea. Joy Behar, perched across from him, flashed a smile that was all teeth, her eyes glinting with something sharper than warmth. "So, Brad," she said, her voice honeyed but edged, "ready to bare your soul tonight?" He laughed, a low, practiced chuckle, but his palms were damp. He hadn't come here for a fluff piece. Not this time. The tabloids had been circling for weeks, whispering about a scandal that wasn't even fully formed yet, a cryptic post from an ex, a blurry photo, a rumor that refused to die. Joy's team had promised a chance to set the record straight, but the air in the studio smelled like a trap. Brad had agreed to the interview against his publicist's advice. "Joy's a shark," Linda had warned, her voice crackling through the phone. "She'll smell blood and go for it." But Brad was tired of dodging paparazzi, tired of cryptic ex-posts from fans and haters alike, tired of the narrative spiraling out of his control. At 61, he'd seen enough of Hollywood's churn to know silence only fed the beast. So here he was, in a tailored suit that felt too tight, under lights that made his temples throb, about to face a woman who'd built a career on turning private pain into public spectacle. The studio was smaller than it looked on TV, almost claustrophobic. A stale coffee scent lingered from the crew's break room. A flickering fluorescent bulb in the corner buzzed faintly, like a mosquito trapped in a jar. Brad's fingers twitched against the armrest, and he forced himself to sit still. He'd faced tougher rooms than this: divorce lawyers, Oscar speeches, Angelina's lawyers. But something about Joy's gaze, the way she tilted her head just so, made him feel like he was 25 again, a nobody from Missouri trying to prove he belonged. "Brad, let's start light," Joy said, her voice cutting through the hum of the studio. "You've got a new film coming out, The Last Stand. Critics are calling it your best work in years. How's it feel to still be at the top of your game?" The audience clapped on cue, a hollow sound that echoed off the soundstage walls. He leaned back, forcing a grin. "Feels good, Joy. Feels like I'm still learning, you know? Every role's a chance to dig a little deeper." Safe answer. Ray Hurst. But his eyes flicked to the teleprompter behind her, wondering when the real questions would start. The first crack came 10 minutes in. Joy had lulled him with softballs, his workout routine, his thoughts on aging in Hollywood, a playful jab about his bachelor status. Then, mid-sentence, she leaned forward, her smile tightening. "Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Brad. There's been chatter about you and a certain someone from your past. Care to clear the air?" The audience went still, a collective intake of breath. Brad's stomach dropped. He knew exactly what she meant. The ex-post from 3 weeks ago, from a woman he hadn't seen in years, Lila, a costume designer from an indie film he'd done in the 90s. She'd posted a grainy photo of them laughing on set, captioned, "Some promises you don't forget, even when the world does." Cryptic, vague, but enough to spark a firestorm. Blogs ran wild with speculation: an affair, a secret child, a betrayal. None of it was true, at least, not the way they spun it. But the truth was messy, and Brad had spent weeks wrestling with whether to address it at all. He cleared his throat, buying time. "You know how it is, Joy. People love a good story. Doesn't mean it's real." His voice was steady, but his left hand clenched the armrest, knuckles whitening. Joy raised an eyebrow, undeterred. "But this isn't just people, Brad. It's someone who worked with you. Someone who says there's history. Are you saying she's lying?" Her tone was light, almost playful, but the question landed like a blade. The studio felt smaller now, the air thicker. A crew member coughed somewhere off-set. Brad's mind raced. Lila wasn't lying, not exactly. There was history, but not the kind the tabloids wanted. A late-night talk on set, a moment of vulnerability when he was spiraling after a breakup, a promise to stay in touch that he'd broken when fame pulled him away. Nothing scandalous, just human. But how do you explain that on live TV without sounding like you're dodging? "I'm saying," he started, choosing his words like stepping through a minefield, that sometimes memories get tangled up with time. Lila's a good person. We worked together a long time ago. I wish her nothing but the best. He met Joy's gaze, daring her to push harder. She didn't blink. So no truth to the rumors of a broken promise? Nothing you'd want to apologize for? The word apologize hung in the air, sharp and heavy. The tension built like a slow-burning fuse. Joy pivoted to safer topics, his charity work, his production company, but the audience wasn't fooled. They were waiting for blood. Brad could feel it in the way they leaned forward, their whispers rippling through the dark. He kept his answers short, his smile tight, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying that night with Lila. Her laugh, the way she'd looked at him like he was just a guy, not a star. He'd meant to call her, to check in, but life happened, movies, marriages, scandals. He hadn't thought about her in years until that damn post. Then came the twist. Joy reached under her desk and pulled out a tablet, her smile turning predatory. Brad, we've got a surprise for you tonight. We reached out to Lila, and she sent us something. The audience gasped, a low, hungry sound. Brad's heart stopped. He hadn't known about this. Linda hadn't known about this. The teleprompter was blank, the crew silent. Joy tapped the tablet, and a video flickered to life on the studio monitors. Lila's face appeared, older but unmistakable, her eyes tired but steady. Brad, she said, her voice soft but clear, I don't want to drag you through the mud. That's not me. But you promised me something back then, and I believed you. I just want to know, did you ever mean it? The studio went quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums. Brad stared at the screen, his throat dry. He remembered the promise now, vivid as a fresh wound, if you ever need me, I'll be there. He'd said it to her after she'd confessed her struggles, a sick mother, a stalled career, a life that felt like it was slipping away. He'd meant it in the moment, but the years had buried it under the weight of his own chaos. Joy turned to him, her voice almost a whisper. Brad, what do you say to that? The next 10 minutes were a blur. Brad's mind split in two, one half scrambling for a response, the other drowning in guilt. He could deny it, laugh it off, call it a misunderstanding. But Lila's face, her quiet dignity, deserved better than that. He thought of the audience, the cameras, the millions watching at home. One wrong word, and he'd be torn apart on X by morning. He paused, his voice catching. The silence stretched, unbearable. A camera lens glinted in his peripheral vision, its red light blinking like an accusation. I meant it when I said it, he finally said, his voice low. But I let life get in the way. I let her down. And for that, Lila, if you're watching, I'm sorry. The audience exhaled, a collective release. Joy's eyes widened, just for a second, before she recovered her composure. That's big of you, Brad, she said, but her tone was softer now, less hungry. Takes courage to own up like that. But the moment didn't last. A man in the audience stood up, unprompted, his voice cutting through the studio. So you just forgot her? Like she was nothing? Heads turned. The man was middle-aged, his face flushed with anger. People like you think you can just say sorry and move on? Brad froze. The outburst wasn't scripted. Joy's startled glance confirmed it. The man kept going, his voice shaking. My sister worked on one of your sets. You probably don't even remember her name. You people ruin lives and call it a mistake. The studio erupted in murmurs. Security moved toward the man, but Brad raised a hand. Stopping them. His heart pounded, but something in the man's voice, raw, unfiltered, hit him harder than Joy's questions. What's her name? Brad asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. The man blinked, caught off guard. Clara, he said finally. Clara Bennett. Brad didn't remember her. He wanted to, desperately, but the name was a blank. Still, he nodded, holding the man's gaze. I hear you, he said. And I'm sorry if I hurt her, too. The interview wrapped soon after, the tension deflated but unresolved. Joy tried to steer back to lighter fare, but the air had changed. The audience was quieter now, their earlier hunger replaced by something heavier. Brad left the stage to polite applause, his suit jacket sticking to his back with sweat. Backstage, Linda was waiting, her face a mask of controlled fury. "You should have stuck to the script," she hissed. But Brad barely heard her. He was thinking of Lila, of Clara, of the countless faces he'd passed by in his climb to the top. How many promises had he made and forgotten? How many lives had brushed against his, only to be swept away? He stepped outside into the cool night air, the city's hum a distant pulse. His phone buzzed with notifications, ex-posts, headlines, clips from the show already going viral. He didn't look. Instead, he pulled up Lila's profile, her last post still pinned at the top. He typed a message, then deleted it. Typed again. "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" He hit send before he could overthink it. The screen glowed, waiting for a reply that might never come. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, and Brad stood there, alone in the neon glow, wondering if apologies ever really fixed anything or if they just gave us permission to keep moving forward, leaving the wreckage behind. What do you do when the world watches you fall, and the only sound left is your own heartbeat?